Welcome to Max's Table, a food podcast from the State Hornet, where we talk about food and learn about food to learn more about people. Now, I know the pandemic feels like it's been forever, and I know we all remember when there wasn't any toilet paper or bottled water in the store. But can you remember the food situation? It also felt dire. Freezer aisles were completely cleaned out, produce displays, usually filled with mountains of corn and onion, were reduced to empty tables with nothing but dusty scraps of corn husks and onion skins. It may have made you think a little bit harder about the food distribution chain. But really, most of us have no idea how complicated that chain really is. Our guest today gives us an inside look into that chain and just how mind-boggling it is. It's my good friend, Gina Bakovic. For nearly 20 years, Gina has worked in produce distribution for one of the major produce warehouses in Sacramento, General Produce. Gina is incredibly passionate about what she does. She worked as a buyer for 16 years and is now an inventory control manager. But really, she's just a wealth of knowledge about our food system. I learned so much from her. For instance, you know those bagged salads? That plastic is a special plastic that aspirates to let good gases in and bad gases out. Otherwise, the salad would just wilt in an hour if you bagged it up in a regular plastic bag. Someone had to invent that. Just like someone had to invent the stickers on fruit that peels off easily and is biodegradable and non-toxic. Anyway, the lesson is that there's way more that goes into all those fruits and vegetables in our grocery stores than you could possibly fathom. And Gina is here to tell us all about that and how it all got disrupted because of COVID-19. So how did you end up working in produce? I know you love food and you love to talk about produce now, but how did you end up working in that world?
The fates were shining down on me. I don't think I would have ever woken up one day and said, I think I want to be a produce buyer when I grow up. It just never hits the radar. But I had been working for Lucky Stores, and then I worked with Albertsons for a little while. I was working in the meat and seafood department, and I had an opportunity to work with quite a few people through store grand openings and remodels or new store openings. And through some of those contacts, they had gone on and they were working in the produce departments for the store. And they had gone on to work for General Produce. And I wasn't finding that where I was at was fulfilling enough. And I had an opportunity to interview at General Produce with those connections. And I got in there and it just worked. And the produce industry it's like family. It's amazing. The connections and the people that I have had a chance to make those contacts with, it's very fulfilling, and I love it. I can't really imagine working in another industry now, which seems odd to me because I didn't necessarily think that produce would have been the way I would run. And not to say that things don't change, but yes, I really love it. I feel like it's like got in my bones somehow.
I can see that. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I imagine that particularly on the production end, people who are still farming and doing that work are oftentimes, I'm sure, really passionate about what they do and growing a great product. And then when you're dealing with restaurants, you're certainly on that end as well, dealing with people who are really passionate about what they're doing and taking a big risk in that business to begin with. So I could see both ends of that spectrum in particular being really connective and dealing with passionate people who are excited about what they do.
Yeah, it's really satisfying and fulfilling. And I don't talk about this at work necessarily all the time, but there's really like this spiritual connection with feeding people, being attached to those things that are grown in the ground, that it's like being involved with our planet and taking that, trying to be part of best practices, like all around, not just for businesses and to people, but also to the earth, and to take this to help feed and nurture people.